You know that feeling at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon where your brain just stops? You're staring at your screen. The words aren't registering. You reread the same sentence 4 times. You're not tired exactly, you're just foggy. Most people blame it on not sleeping enough, or stress, or just getting older. But here's what nobody tells you. A huge part of that brain fog, that sluggishness, that inability to focus, is coming from what you ate that morning, or the night before, or what you've been eating consistently for the last few months. And I'm not talking about junk food. I'm talking about stuff that's sitting on your kitchen counter right now that is quietly, and I mean quietly, degrading your brain function over time. Today we're going to talk about 3 of them. And then, because I don't want to just leave you with a problem, we're going to cover the 3 foods that actually do the opposite. Foods that protect your brain, sharpen your focus, and are proven to reduce your risk of cognitive decline as you age. And stick around for the protective food section, because number 2 on that list is something most people are already eating, just not nearly enough of. And the research on what it does to your brain is genuinely kind of wild. Let's get into it. Keep this light and conversational, not a lecture. 1 key concept, explained simply. Real quick before the list, because understanding why these foods are bad makes this whole thing click differently. Your brain is roughly 2% of your body weight, but it uses about 20% of your total energy. It is, by a huge margin, the most metabolically demanding organ you have, which means it is extremely sensitive to what you feed it. When you eat in a way that causes blood sugar spikes, systemic inflammation, or oxidative stress, your brain feels it faster than almost any other organ. The neurons that control your memory, focus, and mood are among the first to show the damage. That 2 p.m. fog isn't random, it's a signal. Okay, let's talk about what's causing it. Worst food number 1, vegetable oils. High in omega-6. Okay, first one, and I want to be upfront, this one took me a while to wrap my head around too. We're talking about vegetable oils, specifically the ones high in omega-6 fatty acids. Canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, corn oil. Now I know what you're thinking. These are in everything, and you're right. They are in almost every packaged food, almost every restaurant kitchen, and probably in your pantry. Here's the issue. Your brain needs a balance of omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids to function properly. Historically, humans ate these in roughly a 1-to-1 ratio. Today, the average Western diet has a ratio closer to 20-to-1, omega-6 to omega-3. That imbalance is a direct driver of neuroinflammation. And neuroinflammation, chronic, low-grade inflammation in the brain, is now linked to depression, anxiety, brain fog, and long-term increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. A 2017 review in the journal Frontiers in Nutrition called the modern omega-6 to omega-3 imbalance one of the most significant and most ignored dietary contributors to mental health decline. And here's the thing that gets me. These oils aren't in your diet because someone decided they were healthy. They're in your diet because they're cheap to produce and have a long shelf life. That's it. That was the entire reason. The fix? Switch your cooking oil to extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil. Both are low in omega-6, high in monounsaturated fats, and have well-documented neuroprotective properties. Your brain will literally thank you. Worst food number 2, sugar and high-fructose corn syrup. All right, this one's not a surprise, but I promise the specific reason why it's so bad for your brain is more interesting than you think. Most people know sugar is bad, but they think of it in terms of weight or energy crashes. What they don't realize is that sugar has a very specific and very damaging relationship with the brain. Here's how it works. When you eat a lot of sugar, especially fructose, which is the sugar in high fructose corn syrup, it triggers a cascade of insulin release. Over time, with repeated spikes, your brain cells can begin to develop something called insulin resistance. And this matters a lot because your brain uses insulin to convert glucose into energy and to support the growth of new neurons. When that signaling breaks down, memory formation slows, learning becomes harder, mood becomes less stable. There's actually a reason some researchers have started calling Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes, because the insulin resistance patterns look so similar. A study from UCLA, led by neuroscientist Dr. Fernando Gomez Pinilla, found that rats fed a high fructose diet for just 6 weeks showed measurable declines in memory and learning ability. 6 weeks. Now, obviously, rats aren't humans, but we have compelling human data too. A large-scale study in diabetologia found that people with consistently high blood sugar levels, even those not diagnosed as diabetic, showed faster cognitive decline over time than those with normal blood sugar. The scariest part? This damage isn't something you feel happening. It's slow, it's quiet, and by the time you notice it, it's been going on for years. The fix? This isn't about never eating sugar. It's about reducing the chronic daily load. Replace sugary drinks with water or herbal teas. Swap your afternoon snack for something with protein and healthy fat instead. Small, consistent changes matter more here than dramatic overhauls. Worst food number 3, ultra-processed carbs and fast food. Third one, and this is the category that probably affects the most people watching this because it's the one that sneaks in when you're busy, tired, or just don't have time to think about food. Ultra-processed carbs and fast food. And look, I get it. I genuinely do. Life is busy. Grabbing something quick is sometimes just the reality. This isn't about guilt. It's about understanding what's actually happening so you can make smarter swaps when you have the option. Here's what the research shows. A major study published in BMJ in 2022, covering over 72,000 participants, found that people who ate the most ultra-processed foods had a 28% faster rate of cognitive decline compared to those who ate the least, and a 25% faster rate of memory loss specifically. These weren't people eating fast food 3 times a day. These were regular people eating moderately processed diets, the kind most people consider pretty normal. The mechanism here is multi-layered. Ultra-processed foods are typically high in refined carbs, which we just covered. They're cooked in industrial seed oils, which we also just covered. And they're loaded with additives, emulsifiers, and artificial flavoring agents, several of which have been shown in emerging research to disrupt the gut microbiome. And here's why the gut microbiome matters for your brain. Your gut and your brain are in constant communication through something called the gut-brain axis. About 90% of your serotonin, the neurotransmitter most associated with mood and well-being, is produced in your gut, not your brain. When your gut microbiome is disrupted, your brain chemistry is disrupted. Simple as that. The fix? When you're in a rush, the goal isn't perfection, it's upgrading the default. Keep snacks like nuts, hard-boiled eggs, Greek yogurt, or fruit accessible. Make the easy option a slightly better one. That's genuinely all it takes to shift the pattern over time. Okay, now for the part I actually love talking about, because here's the thing about brain nutrition that doesn't get nearly enough attention. It's not just about removing the bad stuff. The protective foods aren't just neutral. They're actively doing things for your brain that most people have no idea about. Let's go through them. Protective food number 1, fatty fish. If I could only tell you one food to add to your diet for brain health, it would be this one, not even close. Fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring, are the single richest dietary source of DHA, which is a type of omega-3 fatty acid. And DHA isn't just good for your brain, it is literally what your brain is made of. About 60% of your brain's dry weight is fat, and DHA is the dominant structural fat in your neurons. B-roll, neuron structure animation, myelin sheath graphic, brain plasticity visual. When you eat enough DHA, your neurons are more flexible, signals travel faster, and your brain has a better capacity for neuroplasticity, which is basically your brain's ability to form new connections and adapt. This is the foundation of learning, memory, and mood regulation. A landmark study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people who ate fatty fish at least twice a week had significantly larger brain volume in the areas associated with memory and cognition compared to people who rarely ate fish. larger brain volume, from eating fish twice a week. And if you don't eat fish, whether that's dietary preference or just taste, algae-based DHA supplements are the direct source that fish get their DHA from, and the research on them is solid. Protective food number 2, blueberries. Okay, this is the one I teased at the beginning, and I know what you're thinking. Blueberries? Really? That's the wild research? Hear me out. Because the research on blueberries and the brain is genuinely one of the more remarkable nutritional stories of the last decade. Blueberries are extraordinarily high in a class of compounds called flavonoids, specifically anthocyanins, which give them their deep blue-purple color. And what these compounds do in the brain is pretty remarkable. First, they cross the blood-brain barrier. A lot of nutrients don't actually make it into the brain directly. Blueberry flavonoids do. Once there, they do 3 things that matter enormously. They reduce neuroinflammation, they increase blood flow to the brain, and, this is the part that gets researchers genuinely excited, they stimulate the production of BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is basically like fertilizer for your neurons. It promotes the growth of new brain cells and protects existing ones. Low BDNF levels are consistently associated with depression, anxiety, and accelerated cognitive decline. A study published in the Annals of Neurology followed over 16,000 women for 2 decades and found that those with the highest blueberry intake showed cognitive aging that was 2.5 years slower than those with the lowest intake, 2.5 years, from blueberries. And the dose that produced these effects in most studies? About half a cup a day. Frozen blueberries work just as well as fresh, and they're significantly cheaper. Protective food number 3, dark leafy greens. Last one, and this might be the most underrated brain food category that exists. Dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, arugula, Swiss chard, collard greens. I know, not exactly exciting. But stay with me because what these do for your brain over the long term is backed by some of the most consistent nutritional research out there. Dark leafy greens are densely packed with a specific combination of nutrients that your brain relies on: folate, vitamin K, lutein, and beta-carotene. Here's why that combination matters. Folate is essential for the production of neurotransmitters, including dopamine and serotonin. Low folate levels are one of the most consistent nutritional findings in people with depression. Vitamin K, and most people have no idea this is a brain nutrient, plays a direct role in the synthesis of sphingolipids, which are fats that form the structural foundation of your brain cell membranes. And lutein, a study from the Journal of the International Neuropsychological Society found that lutein, which accumulates in brain tissue, was directly correlated with crystallized intelligence, the ability to use knowledge and experience effectively. Higher lutein equals better preserved cognitive function as you age. One study from Rush University followed 960 adults for nearly 5 years and found that people who ate just 1 serving of leafy greens per day had cognitive function equivalent to someone 11 years younger than those who ate none. 11 years. From 1 serving a day, that's not a supplement, that's not an expensive intervention, it's a handful of spinach. So let's bring this together, because it's actually pretty simple when you zoom out. 3 foods working against your brain: vegetable oils high in omega-6, sugar and high fructose corn syrup, and ultra-processed carbs and fast food. 3 foods working for it: fatty fish, blueberries, and dark leafy greens. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. That never works anyway. But if you swap 1 oil, cut 1 sugary drink, and add one of those 3 protective foods per day, you will feel a difference. Not in months, in days. That 2 p.m. brain fog we talked about at the beginning, that's not inevitable. That's not just aging, that's largely dietary. And that means it's largely fixable. If this was useful, and I genuinely hope it was, the best thing you can do right now is save this video. Come back to it when you're at the grocery store or meal planning, because information is only useful when it actually changes what ends up on your plate. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we cover exactly this kind of research-backed, no-nonsense nutrition content every week. No detox teas, no supplements being pushed on you, just real science, explained simply. I'll see you in the next one.